Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 225 of Dial the Gate. My name is David Reed. You are watching the Stargate Oral History Project. Reece Thompson, who played Jinto in Stargate Atlantis, the pilot episode Rising, and in Hide and Seek, is joining us for this episode. He's going to tell us a little about his time on the show and his career and his life. But before we bring him in, if you enjoy Stargate and you want to see more content like this available on YouTube, click that like button. It makes a difference with the algorithm and will help the show continue to grow its audience. Please also consider sharing this video with a Stargate friend, and if you want to get notified about future episodes, click the subscribe icon. And giving the bell icon a click will notify you the moment a new video drops in. You'll get my notifications of any last-minute guest changes. And clips from this live stream will be released over the course of the next few weeks on both the Dial the Gate and GateWorld.net YouTube channels. As this is a live show, if you are in the YouTube chat, go ahead and submit questions to the moderators for Reece. They'll hand them over to me, and I'll ask some of them from him in the second half of the show. In the meantime, we're going to get to know each other a little. Reece Thompson, who played Jinto in Stargate Atlantis. Welcome, sir. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. Where are you right now? Where are you?
I'm in Santa Clarita, California.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So are you WGA? Or excuse me, are you SAG?
I am.
Okay.
And I'm not WGA, but I'm like doing a lot more writing now.
Okay. All
so
right.
Yeah.
Has it been just wild watching everything unfold?
Oh, it's been nice.
Yeah?
Well, yeah, because like we don't get breaks, a lot of times. So it's like you're always on a break, but you're also never on a break. So I've learned to take the breaks when they come.
Right.
So I think the strikes are necessary, and like I'm hopeful about the results.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I'm enjoying time off.
For sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Have you rewatched the show? Have you seen Stargate since the episode had aired? And I'm curious to see what your thoughts are about it, looking back on your 15-year-old self. Okay.
I don't know if I ever watched it. Like I remember seeing like one of the episodes, maybe like when it was on. My dad is a pretty big Stargate fan.
Okay.
So like he really liked SG-1 a lot. So I watched that with him. And I really liked the movie a lot. And so like when I booked it, I remember my dad was pretty excited about it. And so he like would come to set with me, and it was cool to work with Robert Patrick.
Oh yeah.
Because like we knew of him from Terminator and stuff. So
absolutely. No, and he had a stint in the X-Files for a while up there too.
Right. Yeah. I was too young for that. I think I didn't really like.
Oh yeah, this is true.
I should get into X-Files now, I think.
Yeah.
I keep hearing it still holds up.
You want to talk about an interesting fan base, an interesting community. They are passionate and some of them very paranoid group of people.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Funny. So, did you always know that you wanted to act? Was this your idea? Was this something your folks pushed you into? Where did it
I was just kind of doing it already.
Okay.
I was like every time I watched a movie or something, I would become that character for a while. So like my parents had to screen movies for me because they knew that they'd have to deal with whatever character was in that movie for the next little while. So yeah, I was just kind of doing it. And then my parents are both teachers.
Oh.
So in the summertime, they started doing background acting. And then I went to set with them at one point and was just like, oh, I didn't know you could get paid to play pretend. Like that's what I like doing. I was never like bad in school, but I just didn't enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like always like, oh, recess is like my time to like go and like be creative. And it was always that. It was always like, me and my friends be Power Rangers or X-Men or whatever. And I was like, oh, I can do that and get paid to do that. That's pretty fucking cool. So that's kind of where I like.
Is there a role?
So my parents introduced it to me, but then I was like, wanted it.
Okay. So you just you continue to pursue. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that the paths that our parents help set us on. I know my father always wanted me to be uh, a pilot like him. He's a helicopter pilot, and
Right.
there are certain things that I just wasn't in love with it. But I share his love for motorcycles. So you know,
Hmm.
there are certain ways that we like find connections with our folks, and sometimes it's in the work, and sometimes it's just in the
Yeah.
personal life if we're lucky at all. So
Well, maybe if it was spaceships that your dad was flying, you'd be there.
right, exactly. Well, it's his interest in sci-fi that got me interested. So I guess there's that.
Oh,
So
really?
that's a pretty
Oh,
big
yeah.
deal, yeah.
What is he? What's his like? What is he like?
In terms of science fiction,
Yeah.
he's a big Star Trek fan. Classic Star Trek.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
My
absolutely.
dad likes Star Trek too. Next Generation.
Yep,
I think right. That's the one with Picard.
that's it. Yep, and
And
Battlestar Galactica more recently. So
oh
Galactica
yeah.
was a good show.
I don't think my
Um,
dad watches much sci-fi anymore, but he definitely like when I was a kid was like big into Star Trek, Stargate. Um, he wasn't like a fanboy or anything. Like he didn't buy merch or anything, but he definitely like those were the shows that he would gravitate towards
mhm.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's stuff that you can watch on the surface and enjoy, but also
Hmm.
you can come back to it as an adult and go, "Whoa, I didn't see that at all." And some of this
Yeah.
stuff is more relevant now than it was, which is
Oh, like
wild.
in Star Trek?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, and several episodes of Stargate where there was, they're talking about artificial intelligence and how it interfaces with humanity and all these topics that we, will
Right.
continually have to deal with as we move, down the timeline. But it's
Yeah.
certainly not going to be boring.
Well, you know how Gene Roddenberry came up with it, right?
He was a
The
beat
idea of
cop in Los Angeles,
yeah. Yeah.
and
And
just
then so he kind of like came up with his ideal version of society, which
mhm.
there's no money and all that. So
Everyone just does what they're meant to do.
right.
So, is there a role um, that you took on that pushed you in ways that you didn't anticipate, or challenged you in ways that you didn't expect, or just
Um,
made you
yeah.
interface with the material in a way that was just like, wow, this was great, or wow, that was
Yeah, I
woof.
did this when I was 16. I got my first like American project, and it was called Rocket Science, and I had to learn how to have a stuttering problem, and that was the lead of a feature film for the first time, and so yeah, that definitely pushed me and also changed my perspective on what acting could be. Because like before that, I was just like excited to be there. I was just happy to be on set and have a job and everything. But then once I did that, I was like, oh, this could actually mean something, you know?
Wow,
So
Anna
it definitely changed.
Kendrick.
Yeah.
Wow, is there when you look back on your body of work, are there any people in particular that have that you have worked with that have stood out to you over the years as kind of like signposts to imitate, or something that you took away from another performer, or perhaps someone behind the camera who helped to influence you in ways that you didn't necessarily anticipate years later?
Yeah. So in Rocket Science, there's this guy, Vincent Piazza, who's like really great actor. He's like one of the best actors I've ever worked with. And he went on to play Lucky Luciano on Boardwalk Empire and stuff like that. But he was like he just was like he had like he wanted to change his appearance so much, which is like I like doing that too, but he like took it to another level, and it was just like really cool to see. And I worked with him a second time because I recommended him to the director of a movie called Assassination of a High School President, and he got hired for that. And again, like totally, you know, just a chameleon, just like really cool. And like that's kind of what I wanted to do. So it was like having him around uh like inspired me a lot. Um I worked with this guy Logan Huffman on this movie Final Girl, and he was like a very eccentric guy, and he was very into like vaudeville and like dancing and like all this physical stuff, and that was really like I took a lot from him, which was really cool. And you know, he's now since moved to Australia, so I don't get to talk to him as much anymore. But
Wow. Yeah.
Trying to think of who else. Yeah, I mean, those are the two that come to mind. If I think of anybody else, I'll bring it up
Do you
to
have any
you.
memories from Dreamcatcher?
Uh, yeah, yeah, I do. I remember it was the first time I had deep fried turkey.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
and
right.
it was great. They deep fried a whole turkey, and then we had sandwich like rolls, and you'd eat it with the roll. It was really good. You never
Was this
tried it.
craft service?
Yeah, it was like I guess like a snack. It wasn't lunch, I don't think. But yeah, it was really good.
That's
Definitely
legit,
recommend it if you
man.
haven't had it. Um yeah, and I remember at one point there was a line that we were gonna use from Star Wars or something like that. Like a little
In
like
Dreamcatcher?
Easter egg.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I can't remember what the line was in specifically, but I just remember Lawrence Kasdan being like, I don't know if we'll get in trouble for using that line, but fuck it, I wrote it. So
Right, exactly. The dude
yeah,
wrote it. Jeez,
yeah,
that's funny. Rocket
yeah.
science, did you find any elevation in terms of responsibility, in terms of what is expected of you as a lead in a film that was different from previous gigs?
I don't know.
Was
I
your
was kind of
conduct
like
more
I was
monitored, or just
pardon.
was your conduct more monitored, or were you expected to do X, Y, or Z? What was different about that film for you?
In terms of like my preparation,
Yeah.
not really. Like was always like professional and had my lines down and
Hmm.
everything before. But I think that was the first time that I didn't really work with my mom because my mom was always there to like read lines with me and stuff like that. But I had uh a coach to help me with the stutter who's actually like a speech pathologist. So she was thought it was amusing that she was teaching me how to stutter and not how not to. So but yeah, so I had that to work with, and then we did rehearsals and everything like that. So by the time we got there, it was everything was pretty. Everyone was ready to go, ready to shoot, and I like doing rehearsals, and that was the first time I had kind of done them. I think because usually on in television they don't have time for that.
Right. No,
So
you have to jump in and go.
yeah,
What was that like, taking on a different speech pattern? I mean, you've clearly got someone on the set who's there to help you,
yeah.
portray it
Well, she was only
accurately.
there
But
in the preparation. She wasn't there on set.
oh,
But
okay.
yeah, but uh, it was hard to drop it.
I was gonna
Yeah,
ask,
that was
did it
pretty
get
much what it
stuck?
was.
Yeah.
No, no, it went away eventually, but yeah, no, it's interesting because it's like people who stutter, they know what words they're going to stutter on, so you work around it. So I would actually go through the script and I would find words like I would see the stutters were written into the script, but I would think about the alternative to what I was trying to say that I couldn't say, and then so it was like a lot. It's more mental than anything, right? I think a lot of times people think like a stutter is like, and it's like it can be, but like if you know that you're gonna block like that on a word, you can work around it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Because you're trying to get an idea across, and
yeah,
there's more than
exactly.
one set of words to do it. But
Yeah,
yeah, wow, that would have been just such a trip. Jeez. Tell me about so your dad was excited that you landed Atlantis. It
yeah.
was brand new show, a spin-off of an existing show. Tell me about the process for getting the pilot and filming that,
I
if you wouldn't
don't
mind.
remember.
You don't.
I don't remember getting like I don't remember auditioning and stuff.
Okay.
Just gonna grab another drink, but
Sure.
I'll be right here. But yeah, I remember like I hated my haircut. Like I cut my hair.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I mean, my memory of that time is like pretty fuzzy, but I do remember like I think Was Joe Flanagan was like a pro skater before, right?
He that is
Semi-pro
entirely
maybe?
possible because he was definitely on his skateboard all the time.
Yeah,
So,
I think he was. I mean, I'm pretty sure he told me that he was a pro skater before,
okay.
or like he was like at least a big skater.
Yeah.
Um, and then he had this skateboard
Mhm.
that I think he invented called a sports stick because he told me I think he had a skate shop or something. I may be totally wrong about all this. Um, but he had this skateboard that was like shaped kind of like a fish shape, and the trucks would go like almost completely vertical. So I was just on that all day long. Because it was like it like worked like a surfboard almost, which was like,
Wow.
and I was never like a big like skater or anything, but I loved that thing, and I kept trying to find one, and I couldn't find one anywhere.
Wow.
So it's tragic.
Well, it's good. It's good that you have those memories. You know,
Oh no, it's just tragic that I could never find one, and then live up to my skating potential.
I saw it. Or I saw one. It was just it was so like it was unlike any board I had ever
Yeah,
seen before.
yeah,
In just in terms of its shape. But man, that guy could get around on that thing.
yeah.
And
I gotta get one.
absolutely. So any memories of working with Robert Patrick or Christopher
No, I remember
Heyerdahl?
I have like some, yeah, yeah. Chris Heyerdahl was really cool. I've like, he's like from Vancouver, or he's not from Vancouver, I don't think, but I'd see him around.
Mm-hmm.
So like, he's always a super cool dude. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I have more questions for you.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. No, it's
Let's
um
do it.
I'm th- you're setting up the second of what would ultimately be three very long running and profitable television series. Was
Wait,
there
there's a third one?
yeah, Stargate Universe.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there any kind of pressure at all to get this right, or were you just going and doing your job and having fun?
Well, I mean, yeah, I think that's why they got rid of me. 'Cause, well, I think, like, because because Atlantis was so different from SG-1, where they were not on Earth, they were
Right.
on this other planet, and I think, like, the fans didn't like that, the tribal like, those characters
The
as much
Athosians.
in the beginning.
Yeah.
I think it like, they had to do some, you know mixing around of cast and stuff like that to get the right balance of it. But like I think they were sort of setting up uh Heyerdahl and my characters as being bigger on the show, and people didn't want that like family aspect.
Which people? Like fans or production?
There's what is the name of the race that we're part of?
The Athosians.
The Athosians, yeah. So like I think like from what I understand, the fans in the beginning didn't want them there.
Interesting.
They wanted it to be more. I remember reading, like, message boards
Really?
and fans being like, "Get them out of there." Like, "We just want the soldier characters." And so they had to kind of, like, find the right balance of, like,
Yeah.
how that worked to make everybody happy, I think. And I think they just didn't want, like, a kid running around.
I
They just weren't interested in that.
I never did get that impression. I mean, it may have been. I
I think
production.
after the fact, because it's like, it was only the first 3 episodes, and then they kind of, like, it just moved on. They moved on from that, but yeah. I mean, like, there was a lot of mixing around of cast in that first, right? Like,
For sure.
Rainbow left, right?
Yeah.
You know why Rainbow left?
Uh, so he is unsure specifically. I can only guess that it had something to do with the character just not working.
See,
Um,
that's what I'm guessing too for myself,
yeah.
and then yeah,
And
some of
those,
the
I
other.
mean, there are practical matters that casting is purely subjective, and whether or not a
Right.
character is working is purely subjective. And sometimes, perfectly, good actors get the axe. And,
Totally.
there's only so much that can be done about that, because the ingredients that have been put into the pot to make the thing work, they have to work as a group. They can't work just individually.
Yeah. In fact, I would say that it's not subjective, because it's like, I don't know if you've ever watched. Have you ever watched Parks and Rec?
I watched the whole thing.
Okay, so the first season of that show there's something about it that just doesn't really work.
There's a couple of the cast that went out, that left, and then you had Chris Pratt, who was a guest star, who became regular. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But it was really that there was one guy in the mix who's a great actor, Paul Schneider.
Yep.
That for some reason it just affected the whole dynamic. He's a great actor, but he just didn't fit. And I think, the same thing with me on the show. It was just like I wasn't the right fit, and so it didn't work.
I'm really sorry that you feel that way. That's
okay.
That makes me feel bad. It's kind of
that's the business, though. It's not that I feel that way. It's we were paying attention to like what the fans were saying, and they didn't want me there.
Well, I mean, most of those episodes were filmed before, anyone got a first look at the show. But at the
I don't know how, but we could. I think it was that. I think they shot the pilot and like everything, and then like they started shooting the other episodes, and then they released them. I know it was like close.
Yeah. Yeah, production, they spun up in like February or March, and the show was airing by August, September. And when I was up there in August, September for a convention at the same time, the same week that Atlantis was dropping, the visual effects people were working on, at that point, episodes 10 and 11. So that had been shot. But it's interesting. And another example, take a look at Eric Stoltz in Back to the Future.
Yeah, totally.
He
was good in it. He's just
perfectly good actor who had some really interesting ideas about the story, but that's not what that story was,
Yeah.
And his ideas would have been perfectly good in a different film, but it's a hammed up comedy, It just didn't work, and then they got Michael back. So, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's just the nature of the game, and I don't have like any like animosity about it.
Yeah,
I went on to do other things.
Yeah,
and I'm happy with the way things went. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it's you win some, you lose some, and you do the work that you can, and you move forward. So,
yeah.
Lockwatch.
You know that I Am Jinto became a thing in Vancouver, though. Like
I Am Jinto.
I worked with a guy who said he was like a third camera assistant, so he would mark the actors and stuff. And he's like kind of a funny guy, a bald guy, like had a very like he's funny sense of humor, and he was like, "Yeah, I've had so many nicknames." He goes, "They used to call me Jinto," and I was like, "I am Jinto." He's like, "What?" I'm like, "That's me." I was like, I said that, but he like it was like on other shows.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Man, oh man,
so
I do remember that scene.
On. Yeah.
She's pleased to meet you.
Yeah.
I have got some fan questions for you. Lockwatcher wants to know, did anything about that crew or even that set surprise you? It's quite an operation.
Did anything surprise me? Yeah, it was pretty cool. Like, I wonder if that was the first time I've been on like a set like that. Because it was a pretty cool set. Might have been the first time I was on a set like that. But yeah, another thing is that I forget the girl's name.
Rachel Luttrell? Taylor?
Is that her name? Yeah. She was training in Kali. Like her character used these Kali sticks. So then I started doing it too, because it was like the stunt coordinator was there, and like when she was on set and training, I would train with him and stuff.
James Bamford.
Sure. Yeah, I was getting ready. I was preparing to, become a man on the show, but
Did you know that there are Stargate novels that feature the character?
No, that's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. And as an adult, there
Cool.
is one or two. I was reading it here. Let me pull this up.
That's so
Um,
cool. I didn't know that.
yeah, I haven't managed to read all of the novels. I've read a few of them, but oh, in terms, there's one story. You may get a kick out of this. A short story from Stargate Atlantis Far Horizons. A future Jinto returned through time to the Battle of Atlantis at the end of season one. As part of it,
Sweet, like Enzo from Reboot.
yeah, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Sent to ensure Dr. Zelenka survives to repair the control chair in time to save the city. So, yeah, so he's about 20 years distant. Jinto has grown up and has a PhD in mechanical engineering from an unnamed university on Earth. He apparently developed a bond with Zelenka, and on Earth, he goes by the name Dr. Holling's son.
Nice.
So as fans do, they take that's the thing that I love about fandom is
Yeah.
they take content that was set in place on the show, and they bring it new life in works of fiction, in novels, in a number of different mediums. So you guys
Yeah.
you guys kind of live on forever in one way or another.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
It's wild. I've got Timmy the squirrel here. Um, no, excuse me, Timmy that squirrel. Uh, what was there any? Uh, did Stargate have any kind of impact on your life from the work that you did there, or was it just this is the job that I'm working on this week?
Uh, hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it had. I mean, I'm sure it did.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything does, but like, uh, I don't know. I just remember having a lot of fun. It was very fun, like because it was like everybody was running around with guns and
Mm-hmm.
like you know playing soldier and stuff. And then I was kind of doing that as the character, trying to emulate my heroes in the show. So yeah, I just remember it being a lot of fun. Everybody's happy to be there because it's the beginning of the show. So like everybody's like, happy to have a job. And so it was a very like good environment, good energy to be around. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And also
absolutely.
like people who and because my dad being a fan of SG1 and like him being very excited to be there. And so it was like there's a lot of like good energy just around the entire project.
Yeah, I remember when the show launched, uh, and how much anticipation there was in this thing that you guys were creating. There were a lot of people who had a lot writing on it, and it was a departure from SG1 in terms of it was more action oriented,
Mm.
and it had a broader like visual effects scope, and it kind of like opened up the world in ways that fans didn't really expect. And there's some divide on this in terms right down to this day in terms of you know what type of show that it was trying to be, because every season had almost like a different style.
I
But
think that's kind of what I was talking about with like my character kind of not him being pushed out
mm,
because they weren't sure what it was. They
mm-hmm,
wanted to make it different from SG1, but they weren't
mm-hmm.
sure how, and so they were kind of experimenting with it, right? So yeah.
Absolutely. General Maximus wanted to know, you were one of the first people to experience the Atlantis set. I kind of already asked you about this in terms of like the production value, but that Stargate and those corridors and the lighting. I mean, I as a kid I would have just been in awe of that space. Especially the room where the gate room was in. What
Yeah.
what is it? Is it easier to get into character when you're enveloped in a kind of environment like that, or are you busy kind of sucking all the detail in and it's like, well, that's right, I need to do my job while I'm here.
No, it was so much easier. Like I don't know how like these, you know, Marvel actors do that with like all the green screen and stuff.
Right.
It's like I'm like I mean, you can do it obviously, like it's not but it's like I've heard like from actors like that saying how they pictured it one way and then it was completely different when they saw the final product and they're like, I was picturing the wrong thing, you know? And sometimes that was because they told them it was going to look like this, but then they change it to something else. So I definitely think like having the practical set makes our
Mm,
jobs a lot easier and it's like way more fun because it gives you things to actually look at. And it's not like a tennis ball or it's not like people are looking in the wrong like, you have to make sure everyone's looking at the right thing at the right time. It's like
right.
it's all there, you know? So,
What do you think about this move in visual effects, especially toward technology like the volume, where you're literally enveloped in a space now in front of these giant monitors? It's got to be
well,
extremely freeing as a
you mean like
performer.
L
The
LED screen?
LED walls, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Those are awesome. Those are great. I've actually tested them out and they're really cool. Yeah. It's a game changer.
Absolutely. To have just
But
yeah.
mhm. I was gonna say, I think there's also like a move happening towards practical effects, also, especially with like AI technology coming out. Like I just watched a fan film the other day where it was like a post-credit scene of Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man with like Spider Gwen or whatever, and they can totally like face swap those actors onto other actors and put them in the world of Spider-Man and stuff. So
Man.
what I think is cool about that is that it makes fan films and it makes indie projects go up to the level of a Marvel movie. So it's like if we can make a Marvel movie or make something that's on the scale of a Marvel movie for like not 300 million dollars or however many much it costs, then the studios are going to be forced to start doing things with practical effects again, and they have been doing that. The new Dungeons and Dragons movie had a lot of practical effects. I think also Doctor Strange did a lot of like practical
Mm,
effects. um so I think that like people, people respond to it, they're like, oh wow, that's a real thing, and it's like cool to see. I also think with the advancement in animatronics as well, um my girlfriend and I just went to Disneyland, and I don't know if you've been to the Star Wars
oh
world.
yeah. Do they have
It's
Baby
great.
Yoda yet?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. The
You mean
animatronics are
Grogu?
insane. Grogu, that's right.
Yeah. um but we on the Star Wars ride, there was an animatronic that I was like, at first I thought it was an actor. So I think that like I want to see more of that. I want to see more of that in like the big movies and more animatronics, more real effects and stuff. And I think that will set the studio pictures apart
Hmm.
from the fan made indie projects that are coming out.
It's absolutely wild the stuff that's in the, especially Rise of the Resistance. Um, yeah, there are
Oh, that's the one. Yeah, I
yeah,
think. Yeah.
actors that have been replaced by animatronics in some of these sequences. The cars go into the bridge of
Yeah.
the destroyer, and there's people up there that are moving and talking, but they're robots. you
Yeah,
know,
but they're not replaced. They're not replaced though,
that's
because if
true.
you go into some of the older rides, they still have. They're all the Pirates of the Caribbean. It's all animatronics, you know.
That's true.
So it's not replacing anybody. That's just what you know.
It's a
That's what
fair,
they do
yeah.
there.
One hasn't
Yeah.
been substituted.
In
That's
fact, that
correct.
ride actually had some of the most actors on it because
Mm-hmm.
there was generals that came in and stuff like that. So that ride actually had more actors than a lot of the rides.
Because you have to have people moved around.
Yeah.
It's large to control the crowds and keep the story
Yeah.
moving and acting. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's one of the most amazing things that I've ever experienced. And anyone who gets the
Yeah,
chance to do it,
definitely. I was like that you were talking about the scope of the Atlantis set, that the scope of that ride blew my mind. I
it
couldn't believe
uses
it.
every trick in Disney's book. In
Right.
terms of everything that they've learned over 60, 70 years of ride making is executed in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's absolutely wild. So
Yeah.
Tracy wanted to know, in your free time, what genre do you prefer to watch or read or play?
Well, I actually, because I write, so I actually have a website now that I've created my own, like, my own universe,
Okay.
and it's based off of Marvel and DC, and I've just kind of reverse engineered the whole format of that because they never planned on these characters ever interacting with one another, right? They were creating standalone characters and individual stories, and then eventually they decided to combine them. So in a sense, it's kind of a mess because it's like everybody has like a different thing from a like Thor's hammer is made out of a different metal than Captain America's shield, and so is, Wolverine's claws, even though they're all kind of the same thing. So in my story, I
Adamantium,
have
vibranium, or something. Can you, before you start sharing
vibranium,
that, can
adamantium,
you share the
into
website with me
metal.
so I can see it? Well,
Yeah,
before.
it's called thepressguardian.com.
Okay.
And yeah, so the storyline is that it's not revealed on the website, but the backstory is that the asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs brought this element to Earth that then
Oh,
created all of these beings like with different abilities. And so um I broke down every type of like superhero into 6 types. So you have human, mutant, AI, ET, mystic, and freak. A freak is like if you get your powers from a freak accident or like a medical
interesting.
experiment or something like that.
News from another
And
universe. Is this it?
yeah. Yeah.
This is cool, man.
Thanks. Yeah, I've been using a lot of like once the AI art came
Yep.
out, it kind of like the technology caught up with where I was at because I was always having a hard time. I was like, I don't know what to do with this, like how to do it as a comic book or all this stuff. So then once Mid Journey came out, I was able to actually create everything myself.
Yeah, this is this is I think what the frontier of creativity looks like, where we use artificial intelligence to help illustrate the ideas that are in our head. I love this one.
Yeah.
Mollusk, the champion of peace, a transformative act in troubled times. You got this alien-looking creature standing on the ground, surrounded by police. This is
Yeah, so he's the first ever pacifist superhero, and he's
wow.
also the first mutant in my universe. So
Oh
his
wow.
backstory is that he was a caterpillar forming a chrysalis when the asteroid hit, and then a fragment of a morphite, which is my element, got into his chrysalis, and then he evolved into like a humanoid, and then crawled his way out of the earth, and then joined society. And
Wow.
yeah,
Wow. So these are these done like newsreels in terms of like
yeah, I'm just doing it like
this is set in
news,
the
and then
world of this world?
yeah. So, and then I'm working on the next article I'm working on right now is like about uh an ultra marathon sprint, which
Okay.
is like it's gonna be I'm gonna do it as an article, but I'm gonna use it to pitch a game as well, which is a racing game where uh they're running.
Okay. Dude, this is really cool. I'm going to share this in our video feed, so I'm going to publish
Awesome.
this.
That's great.
And if anyone wants to find out more information about that, they can click it in the description below by the time they watch this. And I know we're live right now, but people will pick it up later. That's really awesome. So okay. So how far
Yeah.
are you away from developing the game?
I just kind of like I came up. I'm not like a programmer or anything
Yeah.
like that. So I'm gonna put the article out and then use that to send to somebody and try and find somebody to make it for me.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah,
legit,
go
man.
with me.
So the frontier for creativity is approaching boundlessness. As
Yeah,
long as you have uh, the right people, and you can find them anywhere online
yeah,
in terms of hooking up with someone who has a similar creative taste and a direction that you want to go in.
yeah.
You
Who
can
knows?
pretty
Maybe
much
there's
pull
somebody
anything off.
listening who wants to help out.
Absolutely. So,
Yeah,
can they reach you through this portal at the Press
yeah,
Guardian?
yeah,
Okay, cool, man. Absolutely.
yeah.
This is great. Well, Reece, it has been really awesome to have you on and to explore your creativity as a person a little bit. I'm really thankful that you brought this website up. I'm gonna go down the rabbit hole here and read some of these. But
Nice.
it's so important to have, you know, a creative outlet where you can like sink kind of your creative juices into, because sometimes it's like, especially with everything that we've been going through in the past couple of years here, it's like you got to do something, you know,
Yeah,
while we've all been
totally.
hunkered down. So
Yeah.
absolutely. All right, brother. Well, I appreciate you coming on and sharing this, and
Yeah, thank you so much.
I
Thanks for
appreciate
having
your
me.
time. Thank you. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up the show on this end here, but thank
Okay,
you
cool.
again for stopping by.
Yeah, of course.
Be well, Reece.
Anytime. You too.
Reece Thompson, Jinto in Stargate
I am
Atlantis.
Jinto.
This was really cool.
I am Jinto.
Um, there is a lot here. So if you are in the chat, if you're in the YouTube chat, you can go ahead and follow the link over to thepressguardian.com, and I will go ahead and put a link to that in the description below. We've got a number of shows coming up for you on Dial the Gate as we move into the last month of season 3 in production. I hope that you've enjoyed the content that we've been putting out over these extra 4 months as we've extended the show. I certainly enjoyed making it, but I'm ready for a break. So that's the direction that we're going to be heading here. So my appreciation to my moderating team, Tracy, Anthony, Jeremy, Reece, Summer. You guys are the best. You guys make the show possible. My archivist team, they're doing a wonderful job transcribing the show right now. We've got a number of interesting episodes coming up for you, and I'm looking forward to sharing them with you. My producer, Linda Gategaber Fury, and my web developer, Frederick Marcoux at Concepts Web. He keeps Dial the Gate up and running. Stick around on Dial the Gate because we've got more heading your way for October. My name is David Reed, and I'll see you on the other side. All right, sir.